The night they found Tunde's body behind the bar, his eyes were wide open, and his mouth was stuffed with Naira notes. Nobody knew how the money got there. His hands were tied behind his back with what looked like a woman's leather leggings. His phone kept ringing that night, his wife's name flashing on the screen. But Tunde could never answer again. The police came, looked around, took pictures, and asked questions they already had answers to. They said it was probably armed robbers, or maybe a ritual gone wrong. But the locals in Ikoyi knew better. Everyone knew what Bar Vino was. A place for rich men with no self-control. A place where the drinks were cold, but the women were colder. Bar Vino wasn't just a bar. It was a trap. The bartenders were all women, beautiful, shapely, and always dressed in tight black leather leggings that hugged their bodies like skin. Men came, thinking it was just drinks and sex. But they never left the same way. I remember the last thing Tunde told me before he died. Men, that girl Veronica, it seems she obtains something from me when we sleep. I laughed then, but now, I don't. Tunde wasn't the first man to die after visiting Bar Vino. He was just the first one they found. The others? They vanished, quietly, without a trace. Their families cried, posted their pictures online, begged the police for help. But nothing happened. Lagos is loud. Lagos forgets fast. People move on. But I didn't forget. My name is Uche, and Tunde was my closest friend since university. We did everything together. Business, parties, even heartbreaks. He was the one who introduced me to Bar Vino. You will love this place, Uche, he said the first time we went. Clean girls, rich crowd, serious enjoyment. At first, he was right. The drinks were expensive but smooth. The music was soft, like whispers in your ear. And the women, they looked like something out of a music video. But it was Veronica who caught Tunde's eye. She didn't talk much, just smiled with those red lips and watched him with eyes that felt like they could read your thoughts. She danced around him like fire, slow and dangerous. After a few weeks, Tunde changed. He started withdrawing money every other night. Said it was for business, but he was always tired, pale, confused. Sometimes, his nose would bleed for no reason. One night, he looked me straight in the face and said, "Uche, I dreamt that Veronica would choke me in my sleep. I thought it was just stress. Now, I know better." The night after Tunde's burial, I stood in front of Bar Vino, watching the soft red lights blink like warning signs. My heart beat fast. I could still smell Tunde's cologne on his favorite jacket, now hanging on my chair at home. That jacket used to smell like success. Now, it smelled like questions. I pushed the glass door open and stepped inside. The music was low and slow, jazz, the kind that made you feel things you didn't understand. The air was cold, yet thick with perfume and something else, something rotten. Then I saw her, Veronica, leaning against the bar like she had no weight, no worries. Her black leather leggings looked painted on. She was smiling at a new man now, a chubby politician with a wedding ring he wasn't hiding. Her smile froze when she saw me. "Uche," she said softly, like my name was a secret. I didn't smile back. "Where's Tunde's money?" She leaned in. "You're brave. He never asked me that." "I'm not Tunde," I replied. She reached out and touched my hand. "Cold. Too cold." "No," she whispered. "You're not. That's why you'll last longer." That night, I knew I was in something deeper than death. I sat at the far end of the bar, pretending to drink. My eyes stayed on Veronica. She had moved on from me like I was a ghost. Now she was laughing with the politician, her hand brushing his chest, her lips close to his ear. He looked drunk, but not from alcohol, from her. That's how it always started. I noticed something strange. Every time she laughed, her eyes flicked toward a man standing in the shadows near the stairs. Tall, bald, wearing a long white kaftan. His face was serious, dry like old paper, and he never blinked. Veronica would look at him, and he'd nod slowly, like he was giving her permission. Something was wrong with this place. It wasn't just about sex and money. There was something underneath. something evil. I needed answers. I got up and followed Veronica when she left the bar to go upstairs with the politician. I waited a few seconds, then climbed the stairs after them. My heartbeat thudded like a drum. At the end of the hallway, I saw her push open a red door. Just before it closed, I saw it. Something on her back. A black tattoo, shaped like a snake wrapped around a skull. It moved. I swear on my mother's grave, it moved. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet for a place where people came to party. I tiptoed to the red door and placed my ear against it. Nothing. Then I heard it. Low moaning, followed by deep breathing, and then silence. But it wasn't the kind of silence you find after pleasure. It was the kind that crawled into your bones. Suddenly, I heard a thud. I turned the doorknob. Locked. I stepped back, ready to leave, when I saw a second door, smaller, older, half covered with a curtain. It had no label, just a strange symbol scratched into the wood. A snake eating its own tail. Curiosity swallowed my fear. I slipped in. The room was dark, smelled like burnt herbs and something metallic. In the middle, there was a round table with 7 black candles. On the wall, old photographs of smiling men, some I recognized. Big names, businessmen, politicians, all missing, all dead. Then I saw something worse. A book. It lay open on the table. Inside were pages full of names and dates. Tunde's name was there. His date of death marked with a red X. I flipped the page. My name was next. Written clearly. Under tonight's date. I froze. My name. Written in red ink like it had already happened. The pen mark still looked wet, like someone just finished writing it. My throat went dry. I stepped back, shaking, heart pounding like a drum in a shrine. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. Soft, slow, and coming from behind me. I spun around. Veronica stood at the door. Her eyes weren't warm anymore. They were black. Not dark brown. Black, like there was no soul inside. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said quietly. "What is this?" I demanded. "What kind of bar is this? What do you people do here?" She smiled, and for the first time, her teeth looked too sharp. "We give men what they want. And in return, they give us what we need." "What do you need?" I asked, my voice trembling. She took a step closer. Her leather leggings made a soft squeak with each move. Energy, time, life, wealth. I noticed something then. Her skin had cracks, tiny ones, like she was a mask. And through the cracks, I saw movement. Like worms. I turned to run. But standing behind me was the tall man in the white kaftan. His eyes glowed faintly, and he whispered, "Your night has come." I bolted toward the other door, heart racing, lungs burning. But the man in the kaftan didn't move. He just stood there like a statue, staring at me. Then he raised one hand slowly and snapped his fingers. The lights went out. Total darkness swallowed me. I fumbled in my pocket, found my phone, and switched on the flashlight. The beam flickered like it was scared too. I turned it toward Veronica. She was no longer standing. She was floating. Her body hovered above the ground, her face stretched like rubber, eyes rolled back, arms limp. She let out a sound that didn't belong to anything human, like many voices screaming from far away. I ran. I didn't care where. I just ran out of that room, down the hallway, past the dancing bodies downstairs. No one looked at me. No one noticed. It was like I was invisible. I burst into the street, gasping for air, sweating like a goat under the sun. A local tricycle passed, and I jumped in. "Just go. Anywhere." I shouted. As we drove off, I looked back. Veronica was standing at the bar window, watching me, smiling. Then, she blew me a kiss, and my nose started bleeding. The bleeding didn't stop. By the time I got home, my shirt was soaked at the collar, and my hands trembled like I had malaria. I locked my door, shut the windows, turned off the lights, and sat in the corner like a scared child. What kind of woman could float? What kind of smile could follow a man all the way home? I tried calling Pastor Joseph, a spiritual man who once helped my uncle during a strange illness. He didn't pick up. I tried again. Still no answer. Then I remembered the book. My name. The date. It was tonight. I looked at the time. 11:23 p.m. 37 minutes left. I paced the room, searching for anything. Salt, Bible, anointing oil. I found a small Gideon's Bible under my pillow and began to read Psalm 91 out loud, voice shaking. Then I heard it. The knock. 3 slow knocks at the door. Calm, patient. I held my breath. The knock came again. I moved to the peephole. No one. But when I stepped back, I saw something that made my knees buckle. A woman's shadow. Inside my room. Standing right behind me. I turned around so fast I nearly fell, swinging the Bible like it was a sword. But there was nothing. No one. The room was empty. Or so I thought. The air had changed. Heavier. Thicker. I could feel it pressing against my skin like wet cloth. My ears buzzed. My nose dripped again. And then I heard her voice. You shouldn't have followed me. It wasn't loud. It came like a whisper in my mind, soft and cold. I spun around again. Still no one. But the Bible in my hand started to burn. Not hot, ice cold, like it had been buried in a freezer. I dropped it. Then the lights flickered. The door creaked open on its own. And she walked in. Veronica. Only this time, her beauty was gone. Her face was sunken, her eyes hollow like black pits, and her skin looked like dry fish left too long in the sun. The leather leggings were still there, but her legs bent the wrong way as she moved. Your name is in the book, she said, her voice layered with echoes. You opened the door. You're ours now. I screamed and reached for the Bible, but it had turned to ashes. I backed into the corner, shaking like a leaf in a storm. My voice refused to come out. Veronica moved slowly, her body cracking with every step, like dry wood under pressure. You men think you own everything, she said, lips barely moving. But at Bar Vino, we take back what we want. And more. Please, I finally gasped. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to know what happened to Tunde. She stopped. Tunde? She whispered, almost surprised. Then she smiled, her lips stretching too wide. Tunde begged too. In the end, you all do. She raised her hand. Something dark and smoky coiled from her fingers, like black mist. It floated toward me, slow but certain. I closed my eyes. Then I heard it. A loud knock on my door. 3 sharp bangs. The smoke froze. Another knock. This time, Veronica hissed and stepped back, melting into the shadows. You're lucky, she growled. But not for long. She vanished. I rushed to the door and opened it without thinking. It was Pastor Joseph. He looked tired, sweating, holding a Bible in one hand and a black leather pouch in the other. Uche, he said, you've seen it, haven't you? I nodded. And he whispered, then we don't have much time. Pastor Joseph didn't wait for an invitation. He stepped in, shut the door, and locked it behind him. He walked straight to the center of the room and poured a line of white powder from the black pouch, forming a circle around us. It smelled like burnt leaves and old prayers. Don't step out of this circle, he said. No matter what you see or hear. I nodded, too shaken to speak. He began to pray, his voice low but steady. His Yoruba was deep, ancient, almost like chanting. As he spoke, the air began to move. Not breeze, movement, like something was trying to push through from the other side. Suddenly, the light bulb overhead shattered. Darkness. Pastor Joseph didn't flinch. She's close, he muttered. Then the ground shook. My bed lifted and slammed itself against the wall. My TV exploded in a flash of sparks. The Bible that had turned to ashes? It reformed, whole again, but it bled from the spine like it was alive. Then came the voice. Veronica's voice, from everywhere and nowhere. You can't save him. His name is in the book. It is written. Pastor Joseph raised the Bible and shouted, "Then we will rewrite it with the blood of truth." And the room exploded in screams. The screams were not human. They rose like sirens in the night, high, sharp, layered with voices that didn't belong to this world. My ears rang. My legs trembled. Pastor Joseph stood firm in the circle, Bible raised high. Flames circled the room, not burning the furniture. No. These flames danced in the air, forming faces. Faces of men. Faces I recognized. Tunde, Chief Okim, the musician from Instagram. Their mouths opened wide in silent agony. Pastor Joseph shouted in tongues, calling down fire from heaven, calling on ancient power. The white powder circle glowed bright like moonlight, pulsing with every word he spoke. Then Veronica appeared again. But she was not alone. For women stood beside her, each dressed in leather leggings, each with long black hair and dead eyes. Behind them, the tall man in white. He walked like time didn't affect him. "This one is marked," Veronica said, pointing at me. "He saw the book. He entered the red room. He belongs to us." Pastor Joseph responded with a roar. "The Lord rebuke you. This soul is not for sale." Veronica hissed. "Then we'll take yours instead, Pastor." Suddenly, one of the shadow women lunged forward, straight at Pastor Joseph, and he screamed. The shadow woman struck like lightning. She flew across the room, black smoke trailing behind her. Pastor Joseph fell back, hitting the ground hard. The Bible flew from his hand and landed outside the white circle. My heart dropped. The white powder dimmed. Veronica laughed. "The circle is broken. The pastor is weak. Now, the boy belongs to us." The four women stepped forward, their legs bending like they were made of ropes. Their faces shifted, first beautiful, then old, then beast-like. Their eyes were empty, but they stared straight into me. I couldn't move. My legs had turned to stone. My voice failed me. All I could do was whisper, "Please, God, help me." Just then, something snapped inside me. I remembered what I saw in the bar. That snake and skull tattoo. It wasn't just decoration. It was a symbol, a curse, but maybe also a key. I turned to Pastor Joseph, struggling to rise. "The tattoo!" I shouted. "On her back." It moved. His eyes widened. Then he muttered, "Then she's not fully human. We still have a chance." He reached into his pouch with shaking hands and pulled out a small blade, silver, glowing faintly. "If you can cut the snake," he said, "you can break her. But I'll have to get close." The room was shrinking. The walls pulsed like living flesh. The four women circled us, smiling with cracked lips, their leather leggings stretching and splitting at the knees. The tall man in white just stood in the shadows, watching like a judge in a silent court. Pastor Joseph handed me the silver blade. It felt warm in my palm, like it was alive. "Cut the snake," he whispered. "No matter what happens, don't look into her eyes. That's how she takes your will." I nodded. Veronica floated toward me now, hair blowing without wind, face changing every second. One moment she was young and glowing. The next she looked like an old village witch with bones pushing through her cheeks. "I can give you wealth," she said softly. "Power. Fame. All you have to do is step out of the circle." I took one step forward. The circle flickered, and Pastor Joseph groaned, "No, Uche, don't listen." But I kept walking. I had to get close. Veronica smiled, thinking she had me. She turned around to show her back, probably to seduce me with the shape of her waist. That was her mistake. I raised the blade, and with all the fear in my heart, I stabbed the snake tattoo. And Veronica screamed like the world was ending. The scream that tore from Veronica's mouth was not just sound, it was power. It shook the walls, cracked the ceiling, and knocked out every bulb in the room. The snake tattoo writhed like a real creature under her skin, twisting violently. Then it began to peel off her back. Her body convulsed. She clawed at the air. Her beauty melted away like wax over fire. Her skin cracked open in long lines, revealing something underneath. Something scaly, dark, and ancient. The other women screamed too, their mouths opening impossibly wide. Smoke poured from their eyes and noses. Their leggings caught fire, burning with blue flames that didn't touch their flesh but exposed what they truly were, parasites in human skin. Veronica fell to the ground, her back arching. "You fool!" she roared. "You broke the seal. Do you know what you've done?" Pastor Joseph pulled himself up, breathing heavily. "We've broken your hold. Your covenant is leaking." The tall man in white stepped forward at last. He no longer smiled. "You've disturbed balance," he said, voice deeper than before. "Now the real one will rise." Veronica gasped. No, he was not supposed to wake up yet. I looked at Pastor Joseph. "Who's he?" I asked. And Pastor Joseph whispered, "The owner of Bar Vino." The air grew heavier with every word the tall man spoke. His eyes, those glowing, faintly red eyes, burned into me like he could see straight through my soul. "The owner," he repeated, his voice thick with malice, "has waited long enough." Suddenly, I felt it, something dark and cold, creeping from the ground beneath us. It rose up, swirling around my feet like an invisible hand reaching from the depths of the earth. Pastor Joseph held his ground, his Bible outstretched. "We can stop this. The Lord has not abandoned us." But Veronica, now a twisted form of her former self, writhed on the floor. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "The one you call Lord is powerless against him. He is ancient. He has lived in shadows for centuries." I didn't understand, but I felt it. Something was coming. Something bigger than anything I had ever seen. Then, from the dark corner of the room, a shadow took shape. At first, it was just a flicker, but it grew, becoming more defined. A figure draped in a tattered cloak, with hands that reached out like claws. Him, Veronica breathed in terror. I saw it. The owner of Bar Vino. The creature was tall, towering, and as it moved toward us, the temperature dropped. Its face was covered in darkness, but I could see the outline of a twisted grin. Teeth, sharp and jagged, like a predator. Its voice was deep, rumbling like thunder. "You thought you could break me? Foolish mortals." Pastor Joseph stepped forward, chanting louder now. "The power of God is greater than your darkness. In his name, I bind you." But the creature laughed, a low, growling sound that shook the room. "You bind nothing. I am eternal." The walls began to crack, and the floor trembled. I could feel the evil pressing in from all sides, closing in on us. We were surrounded. And in the distance, I heard something that chilled me to my core. A deep, ominous bell toll. The final bell of the night. The bell tolled again. It was distant, yet it felt as though it rang right inside my chest. Each chime reverberated through my bones, rattling every thought, every heartbeat. The creature, the owner, raised a hand, and the air seemed to crack with its power. The walls groaned, the floor cracked, and the whole room bent, as though reality itself was stretching and snapping. "Do you see now?" the creature said, its voice like a whisper in a nightmare. "I am the foundation of Bar Vino. I am its blood, its heart, and its hunger. I have feasted on souls for centuries." Pastor Joseph stepped forward, sweat pouring down his face. His voice faltered, but he kept chanting, calling on divine protection. The creature's laugh echoed, filling the room with darkness. "Your prayers are nothing. This bar was built on me. You cannot destroy me." I felt the air grow thick around me, suffocating me. The weight of everything I had seen, everything I had feared, pressed down like a boulder on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Then I heard a voice, soft, urgent, and distant, like it was calling to me from beyond the veil. "Uche." I turned. It was Veronica, but she was no longer the twisted figure on the ground. She stood tall, her eyes no longer hollow, but full of something familiar. Human. She reached for me. "You still don't understand, do you?" she said, her voice breaking through the fog of terror. "I was never just a bartender. I was a guard. a keeper of the gate. I shook my head, too confused to speak. A keeper? She nodded, her eyes softening with regret. This place, Bar Vino, it isn't just a bar. It's a portal, a doorway to him. The creature laughed again, louder this time, rattling the windows. No one told you. Veronica whispered, stepping closer. The ones who step inside are marked. The ones who stay become part of him. You're not just a customer, Uche. You're bait. The words hit me like a slap to the face. I staggered back, my heart hammering in my chest. Bait. I croaked. I'm just a man who walked into a bar. Veronica's eyes were filled with sorrow. That's what you think. But this place, this bar, was never meant for men like you. It feeds on greed, on the desires of the ones who enter. It pulls them in, consumes them, and when they've outlived their use, it moves on. Just like it did with Tunde, and Okim, and the others. I felt cold, so cold. I could hear the faint sound of the bell tolling again, louder now, like a drumbeat signaling the end. Why didn't you tell me? I gasped. Why let me walk into this trap? Veronica's face softened, but she looked away. I couldn't. I was bound to this place. Bound by the curse. I didn't have a choice. The creature, the owner, stepped forward, his massive form casting an ominous shadow over us. She is lying to you, Uche. You were always meant to come here. You've been chosen. I took a step back, my mind racing. Chosen? For what? To become one of us, the creature said, his eyes glowing with malevolent fire. You've tasted power, haven't you? You've felt the pull, the desire to take more, to be more. That's why you came to Bar Vino. You're mine now. I clenched my fists. The creature's words stung, but something inside me rebelled. I couldn't let this place, this evil, take everything I had left. Pastor Joseph, struggling to rise from the ground, shouted, Uche, don't listen to him. You're stronger than this. I turned to him, my heart pounding. His voice was a lifeline in the madness, a reminder of everything I had once believed in. You still have a choice. Pastor Joseph shouted. I looked at Veronica, her face a mixture of fear and regret, and then at the creature who towered above us, the embodiment of centuries of darkness. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and made my decision. I opened my eyes, feeling the weight of the decision settle into my bones. The room still trembled under the power of the creature, but I wasn't afraid anymore. Fear had no hold over me, not when I had something greater to fight for. I choose to fight. My voice echoed through the room, strong, defiant. The creature's grin twisted into a sneer. You think you can fight me? You are nothing. Just a man, a puppet for your desires. But I knew what I had to do. The truth wasn't in the creature's power, or in its promises of wealth and domination. The truth was in the strength I had left, the will to break free. I turned to Pastor Joseph, my eyes blazing. Give me the Bible. He looked at me, his face pale but full of determination. He handed it to me, and I could feel its weight, like the very essence of hope and faith was contained in those sacred pages. The creature laughed again. You think some old book will save you? But I wasn't thinking of the book alone. It was the power behind it, the faith, the courage to stand against the darkness. I raised the Bible high, chanting the words I'd heard Pastor Joseph speak, the ones that held power beyond understanding. With every word I spoke, the room grew lighter, the oppressive air shifting. The creature hissed, recoiling as though the light of the Bible burned its very skin. No, it shrieked. You cannot defeat me. I am eternal. But I could feel its strength waning, as if the very core of its existence was unraveling. The snake tattoo on Veronica's back, now exposed and bleeding, began to fade. The dark mist in the room started to dissipate. You're not eternal, I said, my voice steady now. Nothing is. The room shook violently, but the creature's form flickered. It seemed to stretch and crack like a mirror shattering. It was unraveling. No, it howled. its form crumbling into dust. "You will regret this." With one last scream, it vanished, leaving only the faint smell of burning incense behind. The silence after the creature's disappearance was deafening. The air was thick with the remnants of its dark presence, but now it felt lighter. The oppressive weight that had held us all in place was gone, as if the very room had exhaled a breath it had been holding for centuries. Pastor Joseph was the first to speak, his voice raspy but filled with relief. "You did it, Uche. You broke the curse." I looked at Veronica, who stood beside me, her face now human again. The twisted, evil expression had faded, replaced by one of exhaustion and remorse. "But what happens now?" I asked, my voice trembling. Veronica looked at me, her eyes soft and full of sorrow. "I've been trapped in this nightmare for so long. I never thought it would end. I thought I was helping him." I shook my head. "You were never part of the plan. You were just another victim." She nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I know, but now I'm free." Pastor Joseph stepped forward, his Bible still in hand. "The road to redemption is long, but it starts with forgiveness." I turned to him, grateful for his strength throughout this nightmare. "What happens to Bar Vino?" "It will crumble," Pastor Joseph said solemnly. "It was built on lies, and its foundation has been destroyed. There is no power left in it." I nodded. A sense of finality washed over me. The place that had trapped so many, the bar that had lured men into its grasp, was finally finished. The evil that had claimed so many lives was gone. As I stepped outside, the night air felt crisp and fresh, the sky clear, the stars brighter than they had ever been. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt at peace. I looked back one last time at the empty space where Bar Vino had once stood. It was gone,